Yep.
Yeah, Craig sounds evil.
He goes, now recording.
Honestly, right, the picture looks so cute and, like, adorable, but his voice just sounds like he smokes 60 a day. Like, holy crap.
Oh, he reminds me of one of the other characters from Mutants for Hire, the one who sounds like a radio host.
One that sounds like a radio host?
Yeah. Oh man. He's been in a lot of the stuff that you've had me do. He was in the first episode too.
Is he one of the Mutants for Hire?
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be either One Up, or Benevolent Cardio, or just Cardio.
It might be One Up.
I was gonna say it might be One Up, yeah.
Because he's kind of got this kind of voice, but it's a little deeper.
Okay, so I'm ready to go when you're.
Yeah, whenever.
Okay.
Welcome to the Tiger Nexus Podcast, a place where you'll find interviews with content creators and geeks alike. Your host, Ty Tiger, has delved upon the Nexus and found interesting content creators and geeks of all fandoms. This podcast is connected to the Zero Hero Network. And now, we dive in with another episode!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tiger Nexus podcast. Today, I'm joined by a good buddy of mine. He's actually made something for the Red Cornish Ranger. He's a massive Power Ranger nerd. And also, he's a fellow voice actor of mine. I actually really adore writing and playing around with this character he created. We'll dive into all that. But first off, let me just introduce him. This is Austin. Hello, bro. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. And how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I live in the UK, and we're currently going 4 seasons in one day. So I've been rained on, I've been blasted by the sun, and it almost felt like I got blown off my feet by a very small hurricane.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
It's autumn in the UK. Literally, I'm waiting for it to snow. Basically,
it sounds like a bit like the Midwest in the States here. That's about roundabouts where I'm at, is in the Midwest.
What is the weather like with you right now?
It is almost October here, which is usually fairly chill outside, but today I was sweating. So
I was gonna say a lot of the Americans I talked to said that it's been quite warm and quite not humid but quite dry.
Yeah, I want to say that it's. Well, let's see here. I want to say it's in the 70s today.
Damn, fair enough.
It's currently 79 degrees outside.
Jeez, so. Fair. Well, okay, so Power Rangers. You're a huge fan of Power Rangers. You've gotten your son into Power Rangers, which is awesome. How did you first get into Power Rangers?
Let's go back about 31 years. When they first came out, I was born a few months after they initially came out, and my older brother had all the toys and stuff like that. So I've kind of just always had Power Ranger stuff, and me and my older brother used to argue over who was going to be Tommy. And we finally came to an agreement that I got to be the white version and he was the green.
Which then later, wait 20 something years, they finally did in the comics, where the Green Ranger and the White Ranger exist at the exact same time.
Right. I mean, and then you also have that episode, or that 2-part episode back in the 90s where the evil Rita's father comes back and brings takes like a strand of Tommy's hair and then makes a new Green Ranger out of that, but they leave him in the past. I don't know if you recall that one or not.
Yeah, that's very true.
But yeah, I don't know. I've always liked how diverse of a team it is. They're very vibrant with their colors, but they're not like super significant power set wise. Like their differences were just weapons, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, you didn't like with the Justice League. You have Superman, which is obviously the leader slash strongest one. You don't have that. Everybody's pretty well rounded. The only differences is like personality traits where Billy's the smart one, Zach's the cool one. Jason was the leader. Trini, she was. I want to say, how would you portray her?
I'd
She
say
was smart, but also like caring in the sense of like she cared about the earth and so on and so forth. And then you have Kimberly, who was the popular girl.
I was gonna say, I think Trini. The best way to explain Trini is she was the caring one, kind of like the mother
Yeah,
hen of the
yeah.
group.
She was definitely the mom of the group.
Yep.
That is a good way to put it. I guess I never put that together in my own head, but
Which is funny because she is actually a mum in story because she has Min.
right. And I don't know. I've always really liked that it. The Power Rangers could be anybody. It's just a group of friends that care about not only their city, their environment, and their world, which is Earth and whatever. But they just, I don't know. It To me, it was a better story, and could have been a way better story than like the Justice League or the Avengers, where all of a sudden the next character has to be like God tier, and they have to jump up to that tier. Nope, they're just every average day teenagers that are saving the world because some space alien gave them a morpher and said, "I choose you now. Protect this planet."
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why parodies got so popular, wasn't it? Because, like, there was two girls, there was martial arts, there was geekiness, there was, strong-willed characters. Each character had a flaw of some kind. There's an episode where, like, one character messes up pretty much, every other episode. You had a black dude, you had an Asian chick, Tommy had long hair for a while, stuff like this. There's literally a bit of especially when you look at, it's aimed at kids, it allowed kids to think, oh, hang on a minute, if they can be Power Rangers, anyone can. So it's a good
Right.
message. It's a good message.
It definitely taught you that anybody could be a hero in their own right, and you didn't necessarily have to have superpowers to make an impact.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, I like I said, I love the diversity of it. I've always enjoyed that it could be anybody under that mask. Like especially when Turbo came around and um Turbo Blue was like a 12-year-old kid that grew into an adult size whenever he morphed and then went back to being a kid. Like it was always interesting to me, and I don't know, I've loved it ever since. Like they didn't make anybody over the top powerful and like, crazy. They kept it pretty simplistic. I like that they always had a comedic aspect to it, like Bulk and Skull, and it really touched on like everyday insecurities or things that you might come across on a day-to-day basis that it really taught kids how to handle those problems in a better manner. And to be honest, I miss a lot of like 90s and early 2000s cartoons because they were built around, let's help educate kids on life lessons versus, like show like Uncle Grandpa where it's just goofy.
Yeah, that's very true. Because I don't know so much about the last couple of seasons, but for majority of Power Rangers, there's always been decent lessons that kids can learn off them. Like, Time Force had the whole, Wes didn't want to work with his dad. You don't have to follow your parents just because they're doing this, doing that, doing the other. You don't have to follow in with your parents' footsteps. You can become your own person, which is what
Right.
Eric and Wes was trying to do. They're trying to become their own people. It's okay to be insecure. You had characters like Time Force Yellow, because obviously she was very insecure about the whole time stream changing. Trip was insecure about being an alien. And then you also had characters like in Wild Force. You had Blue Max, the Blue Ranger. He didn't want to be a kid. He wanted to be an adult like everyone else, and stuff like this. And they all said, "Hey, it's okay to be a kid. It's okay to be young. You're still helping. You're a kid. It's cool. There's a lot of little lessons that kids could really pick up on."
Right. That's why I enjoy watching each season with my son, because it's a way to, for me, it's reliving that nostalgia of watching it, but it's even more so nostalgic because the way my eyes lit up watching it and how much I absolutely enjoyed it. I'm getting to relive that through him, and he's learning those same life lessons, and he's seeing how working as a team can really help you solve a problem. And I'm just hoping that it educates him in a good way versus a way a lot of things are geared towards selfishness now, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so my son's massively into Pokemon at the minute. I got him into Pokemon a year ago. He's 5 now. He's massively into Pokemon. We're watching the cartoons. He's collecting the plushies. He hasn't played the games as much because they're a bit too strategic for him just yet. But like,
Fair enough.
I'm watching the anime with him, and not August just gone, last August we got cats. He got a cat, I got a cat, and he named his cat Litten, which is a Pokemon. And he is so gentle with that cat. He's never ever so gentle with anyone else other than that cat. And it's because of Pokemon, because in Pokemon, you've got Ash, and he's like, oh, I want to train with you. Each Pokemon's different. Everyone trains differently. He treats them like a person and stuff like this, and he treats animals with the utmost respect. He loves all animals. He's gentle with all. I've never had to tell him a different, because Pokemon's taught him, hey, treat these creatures with some form of respect, and he's exactly the same. Which I'm glad about, is teaching him about that sort of thing. So yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from. Completely.
I'm slowly losing my son to Five Nights at Freddy's.
Fair.
He's almost 5, and he is obsessed with Five Nights at Freddy's. Oh man, there was one day I left him in my room watching Power Rangers, and he decided to change it while I was doing something else. And all of a sudden I come back here and he's watching Ghostface, and he's just like, wow, Dad, this is cool. And I'm like, you're not scared? He goes, no, Dad, he just hurt that guy. And I'm just like, oh no, you shouldn't be watching this. But if it's not scaring you, I guess it's not that big of a problem.
Yeah, my brother is massive into Five Nights at Freddy's. I like the lore, but I can't play the games. It's the gameplay that gets me.
Yeah,
But
I never played the games, and I don't know where this obsession came from. I've got him a couple action figures, and he is just over the moon because I got them for him.
that's sweet. Yeah, this is one of the reasons. Like, and I'm not. This is going to sound really sexist for a second, but like when women have kids, they're like, "Oh, look how cute they are, and look how sweet I get to dress them up into clothes and all this sort of stuff." But like when my son reached about 3, I was like, "Yeah, this is my time. Hang on a minute," because I got to get him into Marvel and DC and Pokemon, and I'm slowly getting into Power Rangers, and we're currently watching the Avengers cartoon together, and I get to teach him cool things.
Right.
Like, this is why I had a kid.
Right. I basically get to relive all my childhood nostalgia through him, while also showing him why my childhood was really cool versus the stuff that he's got. We had action packed cartoons. Like, I grew up on Toonami, so after all the kid shows went to bed for the night, you had Inuyasha and Dragon Ball Z and Full Metal Alchemist. So like stuff that we probably shouldn't have been watching, but honestly, the I want to say when I was around his age, there was probably a different level of maturity just due to the level of maturity that they have for those shows, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Because I remember my older siblings, they're maybe 4 or 5 years older than me. They'd be able to watch me at like 10, 11, 12 years old while my parents ran to the store for about 30 minutes to an hour. Like, kids were able to watch kids back then, and it wasn't a big deal. But if you try to do that now, that's a child abandonment, and you're a POS for doing that, so on and so forth. And it's crazy how much things have changed in the last 20-25 years.
Yeah.
But we won't delve too far into that because that can be a touchy subject for some people.
So you said that your son's watching Power Rangers. Has he watched all of Power Rangers, or like is he on a specific season, or how are you watching Power Rangers with him?
We have watched Mighty Morphin on repeat, I think at least 3 times now.
Nice.
We watched all of Dino Fury and Cosmic Fury. He really absolutely loves In Space. We've watched all of
In Space is one of my favorites. That's a good season.
I actually met In Space Silver Zane.
Nice.
I think his name is Justin Nemo or Nimoy. I'm not 100%. But he actually told me, if In Space didn't do or have the success that it had, Power Rangers would have ended at that season.
Yeah, In Space was meant to be it was one of the 3 seasons. So far in the 30 years of Power Rangers, we've had 3 seasons that were meant to be the last season. And In Space was meant to be the last season. It was ready to end, though. Literally, that's why, Zordon did the Z-Wave and, Andros killed Zordon. It was meant to wrap up. It was meant to be done. Hence why Broken Skull did the whole, oh yeah, let's, come on, we are Power Rangers. We're going to help you guys out, blah, blah. That's why it ended the way it did. And then because of the way it ended, it got so much more money. They got the funding for it again and stuff, and they just they made the conscious decision then to move it from continuous storyline, because obviously from Mighty Morphin episode 1 to In Space, the last episode of In Space, it's technically one ongoing storyline. So that's when they decided to go, okay, we'll change it now. New cast each season. We're adapting each Sentai, blah, blah, blah. And that's how they went from going from one continuous storyline to each season's now a different set of stories.
And, it kind of always frustrated me that they did that, because Zordon being killed was such a good send-off to end the fact that they even needed Rangers, because it was supposed to have destroyed all evil. And it's like, okay, here we are, the next season, which I believe was Lost Galaxy.
Yes.
And all of a sudden there's monsters again, and it's like, okay, well, how do you explain that these guys are back or here, and then you have, all new monsters, whatever, but all of it was supposed to be destroyed across the entire universe.
So, the one theory I've seen, which I guess can be believable, is the Z-Wave destroyed the evil that Zordon knew about. The evil that Zordon was aware of. Hence why it didn't destroy, orgs, mutants, whatever. Which kind of makes sense. Because like you said, there's bad guys going around still. If you look at some of the backstories behind some of these villains, they actually predate Mighty Morphin. We've got Emperor Grum, Luthor, I can never remember the main bad guy from fucking Lightspeed Rescue and stuff like that. They kind of their dates and times predate when Mighty Morphin Team was made. Their storylines take place 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, etc., etc. So maybe the whole idea that Zordon had to know about it first maybe might work. Who knows? I don't know. I do though. Yes, it's kind of dumb. They said that it destroys all evil, but there's bad guys still. I do like how the whole story of the Once and Always special, which kind of continued off into Cosmic Fury, it kind of played off on the fact of like, hey, Zordon may still have a consciousness somewhere.
Right. I did like that there was a chance that they could bring Zordon back. I was like, ooh, so in other words, you guys are making it seem like you might do another Mighty Morphin movie with these characters. Or, like maybe a hand down to the next generation where Billy retires and Zach retires and Kat and all them, hand their powers down to the next generation of people.
Yeah, which is, see, it's a shame that Hasbro wants to do what they're doing, because, like, ever since it got announced of what Hasbro's plan is for Power Rangers, I don't think anyone's been interested, and hence why we haven't had Power Rangers for the last year, because nobody can be asked to do what Hasbro wants to do. And it's just so dumb, and I want them to... They can easily continue it, they're just choosing not to because they're stupid.
Pretty much. Honestly, the reason why their Lightning collection for the Power Ranger toy line is ended is because they tried super hard with milking Mighty Morphin that they didn't give any of the other franchises or the teams a chance to really sail and have their moment to shine on a shelf. And it's like, if they would have popped out Ninja Storm, I would have collected every figure. I loved Ninja Storm. I know it was the Disney era and so on, but like, those were really, really cool concept and designs for a Ranger character.
See, this is, I say this to a lot of people, and don't get me wrong, I understand a lot of people love Mighty Morphin. I love Mighty Morphin, but when you have 30 years worth of content, 30 years worth of different stories, characters, and so forth and so on, does not mean that you have to milk the beginning, because I actually get bored now. Like they released a new game quite recently of Power Rangers, and it was Mighty Morphin again. I'm like, you do realize you have like 20 something other teams, right? There are other characters that we want to see, that we know that have advanced on or done something. Like SPD, we know that Bridge became Red Ranger, Sky became Commander. What happened to the Wild Swords? Where are the ninjas now? Where are the Kung Fu Masters from Jungle Fury? There's so many ideas that they did. They just haven't continued. It's just like, okay, but why?
Right. And I know you just said that you're kind of bored of Mighty Morphin. I actually have had an idea, and I wish I knew people who knew how to make games and so on and so forth, because if I could make an open world, I want to say MMO RPG or just an RPG game, kind of like, I don't know if you played the Dragon Ball Z Kakarot game.
I haven't played it, but I know how it goes, yeah.
It's kind of open world, and you do side quests and so on and so forth. I thought it would be really cool. And I hope nobody steals my idea after listening to the podcast, but it would be really, really cool if you had an open world concept for the game where you could run into putties or stuff like that, but you didn't always morph. You were the teenagers and you were doing like tasks that revolve around like a school event, or like you're doing a cupcake sale and you've got to go in whatever, but you come across putties, and then as a DLC additive, you could go into the next season, or you could go into the next Ranger team, and it's just whatever revolved around Angel Grove. And then if you wanted to either make another game or make a spin-off DLC, it's just like adding another map. All you'd have to do is because the majority of, what was it, the first few seasons, Turbo and all that, you could go all the way up to In Space with DLC wise, and just add like an outer space map or two where battles and stuff happen. And you could have your Megazord fights, you could have your fights where you morph into the Rangers and you fight the big bad, stuff like that. I thought it would be really cool where you get to play like the individual characters. So like if you and five of your friends wanted to play Tommy, Kimberly, so on, you could go through and, you know, be the characters that you wanted to be or whatever you agree to be. And then, you know, you can switch off kind of thing, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that makes it sounds really cool actually. I've always said that they should continue Power Rangers, not make a new team, but continue the storylines we have with animation. So things like Marvel What If, the X-Men 97 cartoon prove that adults will sit there and watch an animation show. When X-Men 97 came
100%.
out, it was the most talked about thing throughout its run. It was everyone was talking about X-Men 97 when it came out. Everybody, it blew up the internet. It was madness. And so like
they want to do like a Spider-Man 97, or at least the voice actor who played Spider-Man back then wants to do that. Like,
yeah, so like give us, you know, show us okay, granted not all the actors could voice act, that's fine, you're gonna have to accept that, but like, you know, bring Tommy and Cat's kids and make him canon, because in the comic book he becomes an SPD Green Ranger with a dragon shield, you know, bring that to canon. Show us SPD where Bridge is the Red Ranger. What's Adam been up to? You know, we have TJ, Carlos, and I can never remember the Pink Ranger in Space. What's the Pink Ranger called in Space?
oh, I can't remember her name.
Cassie? Is it Cassie? I want to say it's Cassie.
I'm drawing a blank. I think Cassie might.
I'm gonna Google it real quick whilst we're here, because
I was gonna say you might want to Google that one, because
I'm not having my information wrong and then Billy and Jim ransack me for it.
right. I normally know these questions and the answers to them, but like it's one of those moments where I'm on spot and it's just slipping my brain.
Yes, Cassie. I was right. Yeah, Cassie Chan
Okay.
is the Pink and Space Ranger. So, like, you know, they were transfer students when we first meet them. They were transferred. They came from somewhere else. They wanted show us what they got up to. You know, we have a kid who was a Power Ranger as a kid. What's he now when he's an adult? What's he been up to? You know, we've had Rangers who were martial artists, ninjas, and stuff like this. There's other storylines you can do. Bring back certain storylines that were forgotten about, that people were like, well, hang on a minute, what happened with this? You know, or same thing, explain certain things. There's so many people that I've seen want to see, you know, you said you like Ninja Storm. You know how in Ninja Storm Cam goes back in time and kind of sees like his dad and Lothar and how they became like enemies and stuff.
Right.
I've seen so many people want that era of Ninja Storm. Doesn't mean there's Power Rangers involved per se, but they want to explore Luthor and Sensei, and you know, how they became into a galactic feud and all this other stuff. I think that'd be really cool. There's
a mini. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, carry on.
I'm just more or less trying to add on. I would love how Zordon and Lord Zed, like, I know we have the comics of that, but like a little animated series, maybe like a 1 or 2 season of how they were like brothers in arms, and then how they first became enemies, and then you get Rita's in the dumpster, and and Zordon's stuck in the time.
Yeah. No,
like-
exactly. If they did that, if they showed off before stuff, I wouldn't care if it was Mighty Morphin. You know, how did Alpha come to be? All this sort of stuff. There's so many things. Like,
Right.
you know, from MMPR to Zeo, Turbo, In Space, Cosmic Fury. There's quite a few times they're like, oh, Zordon put this in place. Okay, but why and how?
Yeah, basically like plot hole fillers.
Yeah, like, because, like, In Space's second set of Zords, the Zords that actually become a Megazord, apparently Zordon put them there. Okay, but how? Why? Why are they there, and how did they get there? Explain this, you know?
Right, and then we never got a full-on explanation of the Morphin Masters either. They're just kind of there, and they're guardians of the Morphing Grid. Okay, but how did they come into existence? How how did anybody ever discover the morphing energy? Like, there's
Exactly, bro. And it's like the reason why I say do animation is because, yeah, okay, it takes a little more time to do animation than an actual live production, but it's cheaper. You don't need all the recording of the action scenes or anything like this. You don't need to buy suits. You don't have to make suits. You've just got to draw them or animate them. You don't need
right.
to buy the rights for the Megazords and you just got to animate them. It is cheaper to do certain animations, and it's just like, give us some future stuff. How did SPD become to be? Because we had a hint with Aisha and Adam in Cosmic Fury. We had SPA or whatever it was. Why not give us more? Explain how we go from
Right.
SPA to SPD. You're missing like 3
You know,
letters.
you know, my biggest gripe with the Cosmic Fury season, like, I loved this season, but I didn't like what they did with Lord Zed. Lord Zed was already a big bad all in his own right. I don't know why they had to take the Lord Draken approach with him. You know what I mean? Because his whole idea was to take different morphing energies from different ranger teams and so on to make himself a god. And literally they just kind of took away the whole morphin energy from different morphers and were like, well, he's just going to absorb all the morphin masters to make himself a morphin god.
So I didn't mind the fact they made him a morphing, a morphing master-esque villain. My issue was the fact that the second he became the morphing master villain, he got sucked into a tube.
Yeah.
Like, you did all this big bad shit, Zed is now, again, on top of the world, yet you don't do anything with him.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely no way they would have stopped him if they didn't do it the way they did it, but they at least should have put up more of a battle and made it look like they might have lost a ranger or so.
Well, I'm fine with, so it ended with Zed being trapped in a mind, repetitive prison thing, isn't he? He thinks he's serving Rita for his entire life. I'm cool with that ending. It's actually quite comical. It fits Power Rangers very well, but at least have him do a fight first. At least actually have him put up a fight. And then maybe that's when Zetos goes, or hang on a minute, guys, we're going to lose. Give me a second. And then he does whatever he does to put, Zed into that.
It made the ending a little too lighthearted because if you think about it, over all of the seasons that we've had, the big bad fight, it's always come down to like we might actually perish in this fight, guys. Like, we might
Yeah.
not survive this. And then they all get sucked into the tube, and then they're like, Zed, if you don't help us, you're gonna die too. And then he's like, well, I don't want to die. And then all of a sudden he's trapped on that planet, bringing Rita a lemonade and listening to her nag for all eternity.
So, I was born 98. I'm the baby of the group, half time. I was born 1998. I was born this year In Space came out. And what got me interested in Power Rangers was Time Force and Wild Force. And I caught up over the years, but Wild Force and Time Force are the 2 seasons that got me into Power. They are my favorite seasons of all time. And so many people ask you why. And it's actually the last episodes, because Time Force their bad guy didn't get defeated. He saw the innocence of humanity. He saw an innocent baby in peril. And that's what made him go, yeah, alright, okay, fair enough. I'll stop trying to destroy people now. And then Wild Force was the case of they were fucked. They didn't have their powers. They couldn't morph. They didn't have their Zords and the weapons. And they still stood there and went, yeah, fuck you, you big giant cunt. We're going to fight you anyway. And it showed that camaraderie is such a huge thing. Being a team is such a huge thing. And, I don't think Cosmic Fury had either, anything like that.
Right. Man, I think one of my favorite season, finales had to have been Mystic Force.
Ooh, that's a good choice, actually. I was not expecting that to come out your mouth.
Look, I mean, like Mystic Force came out around the time that Harry Potter was still really huge.
Yeah, that's true.
So, like, the idea of, oh, well, I already love Power Rangers as it is, and now you're adding mythical beasts and the fact that they have magic powers, amazing. Um, and so, and I also like that it touched base on like the medieval aspect of it with, Solaris Knight, and you had the Wolf Knight, and or Korag, I guess, for anybody who wants to be a stickler about names. But
Yeah, that's a fact, isn't it?
like and oh my god, his armor was just so cool to me.
Oh,
If I
honestly, as a kid, it was his weapon, the sword that sheaths into the shield, and the shield could open up as well. Oh, dude,
yes,
that was sick.
yes, and it was it. I think the reason why I loved his character, because so like with Wild Force, I loved the Wolf Ranger's character before he even came out to be a wolf, like the Wolf Ranger. Like
Yeah.
that, I can't remember the name, and it's slipping my mind. I want to say that I know what it is. It starts with a, I want to say it starts with an A. It's a
Who you,
really cool name too.
who are you
Uh,
talking about now?
the Wild Force Silver.
Oh, Merrick.
Right. So before he is revealed to be Merrick, that monster that he was.
Zenaki.
Zanaku. Yes, 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 yes. I loved that aspect. I mean, wolves are really cool to me anyways, but Korag was just cooler to me because he was all about the honor of the fight. Like he wasn't going to cut someone down if they weren't capable of defending themselves anymore. He wanted it to be in the heat of the battle that he defeated you, not when you're whimpering and like, you know, he was a bad guy, but he was an honorable bad guy. And I think I really enjoyed that aspect of him.
Yeah, but also he wasn't a bad guy for the sake of being evil because he cared for the dog. There was a dog who like came up to him, and he also cared for the White Ranger when she injured herself. And things like this. And Aki wasn't evil for the sake of being evil. He was just born that way, and he tried,
Right.
because like
I guess you
I
could say that they're anti-good,
yeah, that's one way of putting it.
like the
Zenaku knew for a
anti-hero almost.
fact. Zenaku knew for a fact that if he didn't do what Nazor told him to, Nazor would find a way to make him do it anyway. So, Zenaku was like, alright, well, if I do what he says, he'll leave me alone eventually, and like, look at the way it ends. At the very last second, we see Merrick and Zenaku, which makes no sense, but we see them both stood there, and Zenaku's like, should we go together then? And Merrick's like, yeah, why not? And they both walk off together, which again, going back to our animation idea, it'd be really cool to see what those two get up to, just saying.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I don't know. It was just the whole I want to say with Mystic Force, it was kind of for me. It gave me that bit of nostalgia, like at the end of In Space, where everybody's just kind of standing together, and the Power Rangers are almost all but defeated, and then all of a sudden everybody's like, "I believe," and it gave them enough magic energy to take down the big bad and bring magic back to the world.
I will say this, Cosmic Fury may not have had a good ending, but Dino Fury, oh my god, that actually shocked me how good that was.
I enjoyed that you actually lost a ranger for once.
So, there's a couple of things. First off, we don't have a villain for the sake of being a villain. Our villain was, the best way to explain it, Mr. Freeze. He wanted to bring his wife back. That's the only
Yep.
reason why he's a bad guy. I loved it. I was like, oh my god, finally we have a villain who actually isn't a villain realistically. It was great. Then season 2 came along, and the woman's like, well, I've lost my kid, I've lost my planet, fuck the rest of you. I'm going to be bad because everyone else has made me bad. Awesome. Loved it. She was a sassy queen. Fantastic. But then the ending, we had this idea given to us of, oh, by the way, you use this, you're going to die. Which usually in kids shows means you'll never see this happen ever. But they actually did it. They actually did it. Zato used the sword. It was a big attack. It looked cool as fuck. And he died. Mind blown.
I also like that because of the sacrifice he made within that, like it, and then they honor him by making him into like this morphing spirit, almost like it's like the three Rangers within the comics that are like what are they? They're like all of the Rangers at once.
The
I'm not super familiar on the comics, but I know you know what I'm talking about. Where it, like different
they shift, don't they? Their armor, their suits shift because they're that powerful. They can shift because they don't know. They take the form of what you're looking at, and then it's weird. Hang on, I'm googling it again because welcome to forgetting words.
I want to say they're heralds.
Okay, Power Rangers comics. Doobie doobie doo. Okay, let me reword it because apparently putting that in Google doesn't like it when you just type in that. I know what you're talking about because I really like the way the blue one looks.
Right.
So type in Power
Ranger. The Omega Ranger or Omega Blue Ranger didn't. You know the comics a little bit, you would understand that joke.
Yes.
But
the emissaries.
Emissaries, there we go. I knew it was some fancy word.
They're mysterious entities that represent the morphing masters. They appear as Power Rangers in red, blue, and yellow, and can shift into forms of Rangers throughout all history.
I think it's kind of sucky that we don't have a green, black, or pink one.
Just as because I'm a suckler, it'd be really cool to have a silver one.
Yeah, I mean there wasn't very many Silver Rangers, but like we've had a lot of green, black, and pinks, so it would make sense to have those three as well. But
I think the reason why they did those three because every single team without fail has a red, blue, and yellow. I think that's why, because not every team has a pink, not every team has a white, not every team has a black, not every team has a green, etc., etc. Every single team without fail has a red, a blue, and a yellow of some kind. I think that's why.
You might be correct on that one.
So,
I mean, I know for a fact every team has a red, because red is leader.
Yep. I think that they started doing it. Red is leader, blue as second in command, and yellow is quite often either the heart of the team or the one that keeps everything calm and secure and shit.
Yeah.
So, how many? Because you mentioned the fact that you met Silver in Space Silver. How many of the Power Ranger actors have you actually met?
Ooh, that's a good question. So I've met Zordon himself.
That's sick.
He's really nice. And I mentioned that I found out that he was going to be at that con from his TikTok because he does have an active TikTok, or at least he did at the time. I was meant to meet Austin St. John actually, and I never told the Red Cornish Ranger this, but if I would have met Austin St. John that weekend instead of Zordon, I was going to get Austin St. John to sign that shield I made him before I sent it to him. So I was going to have it signed on the inside of it as a little like extra thank you for letting me make this for you. because I was a big fan of his content, and I really enjoyed, the stuff that he was making and the story arc that he had for it. But unfortunately, I didn't get to meet him because of the whole COVID tax stuff, whatever was going on with him there. Because he had just been arrested like 2 days before the convention was supposed to go down.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Also, new development in Prison Break. Sorry, a lot. Yeah. Sorry, my brother just walked in. So that weekend, I met. I think the only Ranger that was, or Power Rangers related character that was there that weekend was Zordon. A few years before that, at a small convention nearby, they had the voice actor of Goldar and the voice actor of Rita Repulsa. And I actually have a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers shirt that's signed by Goldar. I wish I would have interacted a little bit more with the voice actor of Rita, but unfortunately I didn't. I got to meet the voice actor of Lord Zed before he passed.
Oh, that's cool.
I met him at what's called Anime Iowa. It's a really, really fun weekend-long con. And I really hope I get to go next year. Oh, man. Sorry, I'm racking my brain trying to figure it all out. All right, so I've mentioned 4 from Mighty Morphin, voice actor-wise.
Yes.
And then I've mentioned Silver from In Space. I've met, out of actual Mighty Morphin Rangers, I met Kat. She was the second Mighty Morphin Pink. I met Aisha, which was the second Mighty Morphin Yellow. I met Rocky, which is second Mighty Morphin Red. And then I've met Billy and Kimberly. Which, by the way, David Yost is absolutely amazing at a convention. I loved the experience of meeting him.
So, funny story. My first ever Comic-Con was in March, and I actually met Mark, the Red Corner Stranger, for the very first time there. We met up. It was about an hour-ish drive for him, 2 hours drive for me. Brought the missus, brought my best friend with me. And there wasn't anyone famous there or anything. It was just a Comic-Con. And during the Comic-Con, we're walking around and everything. I'm dressed up as Ben 10. He's dressed up in his Red Corner Ranger gear. And so we're talking about different Comic-Cons that we can go to, because obviously in the UK, we're very limited, unlike you lucky bastard of Americans. So we're walking around, and
as much as I would like to say that we have a lot of conventions, unfortunately, being in the Midwest, there's not a whole lot to go to unless you're going to drive 4 or 5 hours to get there.
Fair enough. So, he mentions to me a Comic-Con that is in Wales, because I'm from England, but I live in Wales, and I was like, we might go to that then. And Mark's like, nah, I don't think I will. It's a bit of a trek for me. That same night, Mark heads home. We stay in a hotel because my fiance was tired and stuff, so we stay in a hotel. And I'm talking to my parents on the phone, and whilst talking to them, I check out the Comic-Con that'll be in Wales. And I look, and there's a whole list of famous people. We're talking like Supernatural actors, Arrow actors. We've got fucking people from Doctor Who. There's so many. And right at the bottom,
a lot of that.
Right at the bottom is David Yost. So I take a screenshot. I send it to Mark. I went, Mark, bye. You might want to rethink about coming to Newport, mate. And then he loses his mind within 5 minutes. He's messaged me going, oh my god. Next message is, right, just spoken to the missus. Yeah, we're coming to Newport Comic Con in August. So August just gone. It was actually a birthday present of mine. My best mate, my fiance, put their monies together and made it so I got a picture signed. I got a picture with him, and then I also got to tell him, thank you for being a huge inspiration. Such a stand up in the Power Ranger community and all sorts of stuff. And he's just the sweetest person you could ever have a very short conversation with, but the sweetest person that you could have a conversation with.
Right. And I want to say it was the last day of the con that I got to meet him, and he had just come back to his booth, and I don't think anybody was like really prepared for him to come back. So, me and my son were like first in line, and my son absolutely big fan of Tyrannosaurus. Like out of all the Rangers he could be, he wants to be the blue one. So when we got to meet him, my son was really excited, and unfortunately at the time it was like maybe a few months after Jason David Frank had, unalived himself, and rest in peace to him. But it, so my son was trying to ask them, because he's not seeing them as actors, he sees them as the Power Rangers. So
Yeah,
he's
of course.
trying to ask, where's Tommy? And I'm like, I don't know how to explain to a 3-year-old that, like, so I've just been telling him, hey, he's fighting monsters in another city, and David Yost was pretty chill about it. And I I wish I could say differently, but I feel like with everything that was going on with Amy Jo at the time, it wasn't. I wouldn't say it was my greatest experience with from fan to actor. It seemed very rushed, and I get it. Big lines. A lot of people are there to see her. I'm sure everybody wants to tell her their life story, but I I'm standing there with my 3-year-old son in a cosplay that's super hot for the middle of summer. Because I dress as Red Hood when I cosplay, and
That's cool.
it's I don't know if you've ever seen that video on my TikTok, but I've got a friend who does cosplay photography, and I was one of her guinea pigs for one of her newer cameras, and she did beautiful job on those photos. Um, but yeah, so it's like I get it. I'm sure having 100 people in your face for over a few hours is stressful, and but it seemed kind of rushed, and you know my son's also trying to ask her where's Tommy, so I know that that's got to be emotional for her too. And but it just, I don't know, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way just a little bit, like, get your picture and keep going. I don't know if you guys had the same experience, but
So the day that I met David Yost, I only got a autograph from him, but I also got pictures with him. I got a picture of Amy Jo, and I got a picture of Stephen Amell, the guy who plays Green Arrow in the Arrow show. So with David Yost and Stephen Amell, they're both really sweet. Stephen Amell actually shook my hand and everything. He was very smiley and talkative. He obviously, you couldn't stand there and talk to them because it was a long line of people trying to get pictures with these people. But they were really welcoming and really warming. And I'm
right,
not trying to sound rude or harsh to anyone, because I don't ever want to run a Comic-Con. I can imagine the stress levels of running a Comic-Con with a bunch of famous people in it. For sure, that must be stressful as fuck. But Amy Jo, yeah, I kind of agree with you. Very short, very. She kind of kept her distant, made no human contact. I don't even think she made eye contact with half the people. Even the people in her little booth taking the pictures and stuff, they were really short and snappy of everyone and things
oh
like
yeah,
this. And don't get me wrong, I understand somewhat, because I'm looking at this line of people taking a picture, waiting to take their picture of Amy Jo. They are all men. There's not
yeah,
one. There's not one woman in this line. They're all adult males, and so I can. She might feel uncomfortable. That's fair enough. That's completely fair enough.
right. And I
You
mean,
know.
don't get me wrong. She was definitely like my first TV crush,
Yeah.
and
Exactly. A
but
lot of these blokes had a crush on her at some point.
but then again, I'm not approaching her as like just
A creep.
myself a fan. I'm walking up with a 3-year-old that's,
Yeah.
oh my god, it's Kimberly, you know. And what else was I gonna say? Man, I know I had a better experience meeting with uh the actress who played Kat, and um oh man, I can't remember her name, but she played Turbo Yellow and Zeo Yellow,
Right. Yeah.
if
Okay.
you
Yeah.
recall. Um so like they are like a dynamic duo. They go to like little comic book shops together, and
They're like best friends now, aren't they?
yeah, and like I got to
Ashley.
meet with them.
She she plays Ashley. I don't know her actual name, but the character she plays is Ashley.
Is it Karen Ashley?
Hang on. I'm just looking up Terrible Yellow to see. Okay. So.
I think her name's Nikita.
Hang on. Okay. So Ashley is the second one. No, I want the first one, not the second one. Stop giving me the
Yeah.
second one. Tanya is the character. Tanya is played by. We want to know the person's actual name. Nakia. I'm not even going to try and pronounce her second name.
So I got to meet them, and they were absolutely incredible. And one of the people that was in line to meet with them, she had like I would say almost severe autism, and she was kind of going on a rant, and like I get how that could be frustrating because you're within a time crunch and you're trying to get to everybody, but you're also being respectful because obviously everybody's got their differences. But I don't know, they just handled that so beautifully. And like this girl was just super excited to meet them, and she was a couple dollars short on something. And Kat was like, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's just a few dollars. You'll be fine. Thank you for being such a big fan." And just kind of like beautifully got her to continue going. And they even had a person like set up to do like little interview questions of what Power Rangers meant to them. And it was just super cool. And I'm sure that they've got a video of it up on their YouTube channel. Um, but out of all the experiences, I feel like meeting Rocky, Cat, and uh, Tanya was probably my favorite outside of David Yost. David Yost is definitely my favorite experience, but um, the Rocky didn't talk to me like a fan. He just talked to me like an everyday person, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No. See, that's like that. I've only ever met the people I've just listed. That's it. That's my first time ever meeting famous people. And apparently the same Comic Con happens every year, and apparently their lists change, and so I'm like, right, okay, I might do this yearly. I might get to meet more famous people, but like, it definitely changes your perspective, doesn't it? Because like, yeah, okay, actors can do big things in the news and they can do bad stuff, whatever, but it's how they do personal stuff that can really affect the way people see them. So like Stephen Amell, the actor for Arrow, I was so excited to meet him, and I knew for a fact he'd be good because like I've seen videos of him like where he's doing Q&As and things like this. In 2000, I want to say it's 2019, a girl was trying to ask him a question. She was really nervous, and she's got a whole line of people waiting for her to ask her a question. And so Steph Amell just goes, well, if you're really nervous, hang on, I'll give you something that gives me a boost of confidence. He leaves the stage, comes back with a bow, and hands it to her, and gives her the bow, and says, keep that until you're feeling a bit more confident. And the next year, in 2020, she meets Stephen Amell again and gives him back the bow.
I remember that. I watched that same video.
And I was
I really want to meet him too. He seems like he would be an amazing
he was like I said, I only got to meet him for like a minute, not even that. But like just for the fact that I walked up to him, I'm feeling quite nervous, to tell the absolute truth. I'm wearing a Spider-Man suit, so I'm melting my absolute bollocks off, right? He shook my hand, he's like, "You're right, dude, how you doing?" I'm like, "Yeah, cool," and everything. And he's like, "I like the suit." I was like, "Thank you." And then like he posed with me and everything, and then he was like, "Thank you so much for coming." I was like, "Well, thank you." What are you thanking me for? Like it's just an absolute joy to like just be in the same room with. Like it's like almost just positivity all round. It was so sweet. So yeah, definitely good.
Hey, I know you've been enjoying what you're listening to. Please insert name of show here. And if you've been enjoying that, come on over to the Zero to Hero podcast, where Billy and myself, the Bulk and School of Podcasting, go through and examine all kinds of things like 90s nostalgia, the moon landings, historical plots, assassination attempts, and, weirdly enough, genetics. Come on over to the Zero to Hero podcast if you want to talk about weird things.
Yeah, I don't know. I've definitely had a lot of good experiences. A lot of like my best experiences, I want to say, are with voice actors.
Yeah, fair.
Like I got at the convention that I go to nearby, and I don't know if you've ever heard of Kev Locke on TikTok.
Yeah. I know who he is. Yeah.
He makes some really cool helmets. But I actually got to meet him for the first time at this last convention where Aisha, Rocky, oh, that's right. I also met Bulk and Skull at this same convention.
Oh, cool.
Absolutely amazing. 100%. They were joking around the whole time. Like you would have thought that they were in character. It was it was
that's
awesome.
that's awesome.
Like Bulk even started joking around with my son. My son said something like was trying to invite him to come and hang out with us, and he's like, I don't think you want me to come and hang out with you guys. I get a bit gassy and they stink really bad. And Skull was like, "Oh yeah, they smell horrible."
That's awesome.
Like my kid was just eating it up because he thought Bulk and Skull really wanted to hang out with him.
See, like that's just what I mean. There's like 90% of the Power Ranger actors, because there are a few of them that are a bit weird, but like a lot of them are just like, they accept the fact of, hey, I was on a TV, that is aimed for kids. Adults love it. I'm here all around. Like, the Red Ranger for Dino Charge, he does YouTube videos now, like full through. Like he literally has dedicated his life to YouTube. And like he's even said in one of his videos that if you see me in person and I'm eating, do not approach me, I'm eating. But if you see me in public and I have no food in my general direction, come say hi, ask for a picture, ask me a question, make a conversation with me, let's go. And I was like, dude, that's actually like really cool.
Right. I was hoping that I would run into some of those guys like outside of the convention, so it wasn't so like, "Hey, nice to meet you. Oh, thanks for being a fan. I'm glad you've been a fan this whole time." And like could have more of like a real. And to be honest, this last year there wasn't nearly as many people in the celebrity alley, I guess you want to call it. So like I got to sit like and kind of have like a good chat with the actor who played Rocky and Skull, and like they're really down to earth guys. Like I really enjoyed my interaction with them. There's a lot of anime voice actors that come to it's called Des Moines. There's a lot of anime voice actors that come to that too. Like I want to say Tanjiro from My Hero Academia, the fire and ice guy.
Yeah.
He was there and he gave me some really cool tips about voice acting. And there was a lot of it's like a hotel that's ran by demons. There was a few voice actors from that there. It's a really popular animated thing. I've never seen it myself, unfortunately. They had all three guys from the Blues Clues were there. Um, just really all around good experience.
See, if I could meet voice actors, I think my top three would have to be Tara Strong.
She's here. She's going to be here in Iowa towards the end of the month, and unfortunately, I have to work that weekend, and I can't go to meet her, even though I want to. Something serious.
So, like, if people don't know, she's the voice actress for Harley Quinn, Ben 10. She's like one of the Powerpuff Girls. She's Raven in Teen Titans.
I think she's even Timmy Turner.
Yeah, she's Timmy Turner. She's like one of she's a lot of people's childhoods, like through and
Bubbles
through.
from Powerpuff Girls.
So she's in Teen Titans. She's the voice actress for Miss Minutes and Loki. She's in the Rugrats. She's in My Little Pony. She's in Spirited Away. She's in Danny Phantom, Despicable Me. She's in like fucking loads. She's just like so many people's unreal.
She's been all over our childhood, and a majority of people wouldn't know it's all the same person.
Yeah, exactly. I grew up on Ben 10. Ben 10's one of my favorite cartoons, so like the fact that she's Ben, like the original Ben 10, is just like, oh my god, it's so cool. Next, that would have to be Troy Baker, who's a massive voice actor in the video game community. He's Delson Rowan in For My Second Son. Hang on 1 second. I just have to Google just figure out, because I know he's Joel in The Last of Us. He's also a singer as well, which is nuts. He's been in a lot of DC stuff. He's played Joker in Batman Arkham Origins. He's in a lot of the animated stuff for like Batman and things. He's been in Avengers Assemble cartoon. He's in Young Justice. He's in Justice League cartoons. He's in Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. He's an American Dad. Like, he's in so much, is unreal. Like, he's huge in the geek, video games, cartoons, superheroes. He's in all of it. He just loves being in that sort of world. And then last but not least is Yuri Lowenthal. And if anyone doesn't know him, he's Sasuke from Naruto. He's Ben 10 from Alien Force Onward. He's Spider-Man in the newer PlayStation Sony exclusive Spider-Man games. He's Smoke in Mortal Kombat. He's a big voice actor too. He's my favorite voice actor of all time. If I can meet Yuri Lowenthal, I may have to shoot myself just to make sure I'm alive. Like, that'd be nuts. But like, yeah, there's I think voice actors have to be my next thing. I have to meet a couple of voice actors.
If I had to pick a top three outside of Tara Strong, just because of how much of my childhood she was really a part of,
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
I would have to. I think I would have to also Johnny Young Bosch or Adam from Mighty Morphin, because he's been in so many animes. He's been like the lead of Bleach, and like
I was gonna say
many.
he's Ichigo from Bleach, is one of my favorite animes.
And then I really, really love the voice actor who does Piccolo, Vegeta, All Might. I can't remember his name at the moment. But like he's also all over the place, and from my understanding, he's also been extremely cool with his fans. Same with Johnny Young Bosch.
Christopher something, I think his name is All Might's voice actor.
Yeah,
Christopher Sabat, something like that.
Yeah,
he's also he's in like Black Clover. He's in Fullmetal. Yeah, like you said, he's in like Dragon Ball and stuff. Like, yeah, he's pretty big.
Yeah, so like over the last 20 some odd years since I've been able to watch all that stuff, like, because I'll be 31 at the end of the year. Looking at me, you can't fully tell that. I've kind of got a little bit of a baby face, and I get told that I'm like 23, 24 all the time, and I go, "Oh, bless your heart."
I would not say you're in your 30s at all, bro.
Yep,
that's shocking, man.
I am 30 years old. I will be 31 at the end of the year, and yeah, I definitely I'm definitely a big kid. And I think the craziest thing is like I grew up with a lot of like Zennials and other people who, you know, would normally have bashed on people like me, like us, for being true to what we enjoy and what we're into. And so, like, I had jocks for uncles and like guys that would definitely have picked on nerds when they went to school with them. And they tried to, tried to pick on me and get me out of it. But I've stayed true to what I love. And, now as an adult, it's crazy to see them say, we gave you such a hard time for this stuff, but we understand why you love it. And like in a weird way, with how they feel about their favorite NFL team or baseball team or so on, they nerd out on that and the players and so on. And it's like, in a weird sense, they kind of correlated that the way they feel about that stuff is the same way I feel about my comic book characters or my superheroes or
Yeah.
the fantasy aspect. It's like you can list all of these fantasies and comic book and so on and so forth with the details and the stats and blah blah blah, but I can do the same thing about a baseball player or about a quarterback or so it was cool to see them kind of mature and be like, we respect that you stuck to who you were, but at the same time, like, we also get that it's kind of the same without being the same. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes complete sense, fucking I've always been a geek and a nerd. I mean, today alone I did a TikTok today. We went shopping and went into town or a town and I went to CX, which is a gaming store, and I turned into a TikTok, why the fuck not? Showed off what I got. And someone commented on my TikTok saying that if I cut all my hair off, because I have very long hair, if I lost all my weight because I got a dad bod, and if I stopped being a geek, I'd make it in life.
See, and
Apparently.
that's somebody who's sad about their own life, and it's easier to bring other people down to their level. So they
Which
have to
is
cut you down to make themselves feel better about themselves.
so it's quite. I did a really long TikTok the other day, which cosplay dude 67 actually commented on, because of what it said. Hang on, I'm just hoping my phone doesn't make a bunch of noise now.
Oh, is that the one where he duetted you and was like kind of trolling you, and you guys started trolling each other back and forth over it?
No, we got told off by TikTok for doing that. TikTok actually told us off for doing that, annoyingly. No, hang on. This was literally the other day. I need to find the video because I can't remember what the comments said. Okay, there you go. Hang on. Let it load a sec. I've muted it so you can't hear the TikTok. The comment says, if you want to waste away your life inside doing nothing but TikToks and making no money, no friends, and no memories, then carry on. And I made a 10-minute response showing the fact that in the last 2 years, I've been making content for like almost 10 years now, but in the last like almost 3 years, I've made Tiger Tales. Through Tiger Tales, I've got a whole bunch of voice actors, you being one of them. I made a relationship, a best friend. Made a best friend out of Mark. I made a best friend out of Cosplay Dude 67. Us three are business partners now. Jared from If You Give a Dad a Podcast is the reason why I have this podcast. I've also got a YouTube channel under his brand, and I have a YouTube channel called If You Give a Dad a YouTube channel. I've been on several podcasts now, which, by the way, I'm friends with all the hosts, and all sorts of stuff. The list goes on and on and on and on. And I just rep the guy.
Oh, I've met Will a few times in person, or Cosplay Dude 637.
Yeah, he was at Des Moines Con, wasn't he?
Yep.
Because he had a booth for our business.
Yeah, oh man, he was live streaming on TikTok a few times, and I walked up and was talking to him, and I think Mark commented while I was standing there and talking to him. Will I'm like 6'6'1", Cosplay Dude 637 is definitely taller than me.
Yeah, see, me and Mark keep making this joke, right? So me and Mark are roughly the same height. I think Mark a little bit taller than me, so I'm 5'11", just shy of 6 foot. Mark's like 6'1", I think. And me and Mark keep making the joke, if we ever get to meet Willie in person, fuck me, is he gonna overtower us?
Yeah, it would be raising the bar for sure. If you remember those old cell phone commercials where they had the towers
Yeah.
for your connection. But yeah, I have to look up a little bit at Cosplay Dude 637 just to just to have a conversation. But I want to say he's like maybe 6'3" or 6'4". He's a tall guy.
You know what's actually really funny, right? So you're part of a dad group chat, which it's quite famous now. I keep mentioning it. And so I brought you up before I added you. I wasn't just going to add you to the group chat without talking to the lads first, obviously. Just out of respect for them. So I mentioned you by name. I was like, oh, Austin wants to join in. So Willie and Mark both go, oh, we know an Austin. So Willie goes down the route of, he knows you through TikTok and stuff like this. He's met you and blah, blah, blah. Mark goes down the route of, well, I know an Austin. He's the guy who made my shield. I was like, guys, you are both in a story with Austin. And they're both like, are we? I'm like, yes, Mutants for Hire. He's been in it since day one, you flipping Muppets. And they're both like, oh, it's the same Austin. I was like, yes, it's Austin, for fuck's sake.
Yep, I am.
And they put the pieces together in their heads. They're both like, oh, I didn't even know you were the guy who made his shield until I met Mark in person. When I met Mark first in person, he showed me. He was like, oh, Austin made it, and I was like, Austin? Does he means for hire? Like, in my head, I'm trying to piece it together. And then we sat down and got food at one point. And he showed me your TikTok. I didn't say anything to him, but I was like, it is the same Austin. Holy crap! Like, I didn't even know you made his shield until like March.
Yep, I made a little TikTok video trying because it was back during when everybody was doing the Lord Ed videos.
Yeah.
And that was a big deal. And like him and Lord Ed were going back and forth, and I was like, you know what? Let's give him an upgrade. And then I messaged Mark privately, I think on Instagram, and asked him if I could make him a shield. And I was like, I'm not going to charge you anything crazy. I didn't even, to be honest, I was just so overjoyed that I got to make it for him and that people were going to be able to see my work on his TikTok on a regular basis that I think I only charged him for the shipping. And that was it, just because I had to send it overseas. And I was over the moon that he loved it. I made a video where I used my communicator and was like, I think I said, Red Cornish Ranger, I'm sending something that can help. And then it did like a transitioning thing, and I was like, Lord Ed isn't going to know what hit him. And I want to say he duetted it or stitched it, and it like kind of forms onto him, and it was really cool. But
that's awesome.
It didn't. I think I knocked that out within a week.
What do you make other stuff, or is that like the only major thing that you've made?
So that's probably one of my best made items, to be absolutely honest. But I've made a few other things. So I don't know if you've ever seen or heard of Danny O'Mani on TikTok.
Yeah, I know who that is. Yeah.
So his Galactus helmet that he has,
Yeah.
I made that. I made the Magneto helmet that he has. I made the Iron Man helmet that he has. And when he switched from the duct tape look to the like actual kind of cosplay look for Molecule Man, I made that as well. And then I'm
gonna need you to make me something. I'm gonna have to come up with something just so I can sit on TikTok and go, "Yep, Austin made this."
I'm not so like I don't want to sit here and say that like I'm super amazing at this. Obviously I'm still pretty new at this. There's other people out there that are absolute geniuses when it comes to foam craft. My next big one that I want to do, I want to make a Buzz Lightyear suit from the Lightyear movie. Because the going joke is that I look like Chris Evans' version of Buzz Lightyear from that movie, because I have a slight butt chin and so on and so forth. And yeah, so there's been a few to infinity and beyond comments at me by family. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna embrace it. If I look like Buzz Lightyear, then I'm gonna start going to cons as Buzz Lightyear. But that I've been running into some issues. I don't know how to resize the template that I bought. I don't understand Pepakura or any of that stuff. I'm not computer savvy, if you will.
Well, I actually have a 3D printer, and it was a gift to me from my fiance and my mother, due to a breakup of mine that I had to go through, and I lost the first one, which I never got to use. So I've printed like 3 things, not very well, and it just stopped working. And it's been sat there collecting dust for a while. It's only been recently that I've been trying to figure out how to make it work. And I think it was like beginning of August, my mother ran into someone in a market stall who was selling like 3D printed like dragons and animals, and they could all move and things. They're like really cool. And my mum was like telling him about my 3D printer. Like, it just stopped working. It doesn't move. And so the guy was like, get him to contact me. Here's my contact information. I'll help him. So he sent me a link. And it was only last week that I realized I don't have the right Allen keys for it. I can't open it. The video that he sent me is telling me I need to open it up to check something before I update it. And I can't do that. I don't have the tools. So I've had to buy myself the tools for it. And that's coming in within the next couple of days. So once that comes through, I'm hoping to get it up and running, because I'd love to build my own cosplay stuff, like my own weapons and gizmos and crap. But like, I just don't have the ability. Like you said, not tech savvy so much. Like, give me a computer and tell me that, you know, the fan's too loud or it's not booting or something. I more than likely could figure out your problem. I can clean it. I can get your consoles up to Bosch and all sorts of stuff. Give me something like a 3D printer and I'm like, no idea.
Right. I definitely would love to learn how to resize it and put it into more of a flat format so I can make my cosplay. Because I have other cosplay ideas that I would really love to do that are like big cosplays. I want to do and kind of create a concept in my head where it is the Mighty Morphin Dino Thunder Megazord, or not Dino Thunder, sorry, the Dino Megazord, the original Megazord, but like a Gundam sleek format. You know what I mean?
Oh, that'd be cool.
I think that would be absolutely incredible. Then it's not as boxy and it's not as like, you know, it would move more sleek, almost like Voltron did in the Netflix version.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I want something like that, but I want it to be that Megazord. You know, I have an image in my brain. I just don't know how to bring it to life yet. So if I can find a friend who knows how to make some, you know, models that can be turned into a template to be crafted, I will 100% do it.
Well, it's like I've seen people make some really cool, funky things, and like, I'm not gonna lie, being a cosplayer is 1, a pain in the ass, but 2, expenses of all fucking shit. Like, it is so expensive. Like, so there's one thing that me and Cosplay Dude are trying to do, and so he cosplays as Tai from Digimon. If you ever watch Digimon, you know who Tai is. But he cosplays as Tai if he was an adult. I want to do Matt, who's Tai's best friend, and Matt's Digimon is one of my favorite Digimon. And Cosplay Dude's actually 3D printed, because he used to have a 3D printer, his own Digivice. I'm like, I could do the same, because buying one online costs like 90 something quid. I'm not doing it. Like, different weapons, I could make different Power Ranger weapons. I have a cosplay character who I made, it's an original cosplay. He's called Okami, and he's a bounty hunter. And Okami collects weapons, and I've given him, I bought a 3D printed weapon from the Apex Legends game. Someone was selling one of the pistols. I've got the power daggers from Mighty Morphin Lightning collection. I've got a Nerf gun. I've got all sorts of stuff. He collects weapons. Well, I could make weapons for him, and things like this.
I feel like you should check out some foam craft, because some of it's not super hard. And like, yeah, the foam can be a little expensive from time to time, depending on what kind of foam you get. But just some of the basic stuff. Like, the first time I ever did anything foam craft related, I made a guy from Beyblade's wrist gauntlet that looked like a golden dragon.
Ooh.
I can't. It was the bad guy. It was back when the dude had the unicorn Beyblade.
I
recall?
haven't seen anything other than the original. Hang on, I shall check.
Okay. This guy had like a golden dragon looking gauntlet, and it was really cool looking. And it so the reason I did that is I used to go to church quite frequently when I was younger, and one of my church members, he had a mental ailment that made him believe he was these characters of these shows that he really loved. And he used to show up as this main character from Beyblade and would bring his Beyblades and stuff. So I cosplayed to church one day just to like feed into this thing, and like I was trying to help him. And the weird thing is when I did that, and me and him, had our little Beyblade duel in the youth center for it. The next week, he showed up and he started dressing as Ben 10, where he had the green leather jacket, and like, so I feel like I helped him move from that one to the next one, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. That's awesome. The only thing I can find is a character called Ryuga.
That might be it. It's
the only character with a golden gauntlet on his wrist.
Does he have like a white coat?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So like I knew nothing about Beyblade. I just knew like that it was a top that you could spin, and they go into this bowl, like battle dome, whatever you want to call it, and they would clash against each other, and whoever's fell first was the loser.
Yeah. More or less. You pretty much got it. I've only ever watched the original Beyblade cartoon, which came out like 2000 and something. That was pretty good, to be fair. Doesn't surprise me they remade it and brought out new ones and stuff. So when it comes to there's one more thing I want to mention, and that's Thunderstruck.
Yeah,
because that's how I know you. That's how we met. Was funny enough, right? Here's how weird this is, right? I just want to point this out. It is currently midnight in my time, so we are now. For me, it is now the 15th. Okay, I had a memory on TikTok a minute ago. I've just posted it on TikTok. I had a memory 2 years ago, today. So on the 15th, 2 years ago, I announced the cast for Mutants for Hire.
That's crazy that you would have me. So like, it's still the 14th for me. Because I think you said there's a 6-hour time zone difference for us.
There's like 6 hours, yeah.
Yeah, so it's currently 6:36 for me.
Yeah, it's 12:36 for me.
Okay.
So legit on the 15th of September 2022, I announced the casting for Mutants for Hire, and like I was like, oh my god, that's absolutely nuts. Like, that is absolutely bananas that I'm talking to you, and I get that as my memory. But yeah, Thunderstruck is your character. I'm gonna let you explain who Thunderstruck is. By the way, this is one of my favorite characters to write with.
So initially when you kind of like reached out about that, you had said something about you were doing something with Marvel and you wanted, people to do Marvel characters, and I initially was going to try and go for Sabretooth, but Mark had gotten that already, and from what I've noticed, he's doing really good with it. No complaints. And then you were like, well, actually, I'm doing this Mutants for Hire thing and I want original characters. And I was like, that works out fantastic because I have a Marvel tabletop character that I call Thunderstruck, who um, is really fun for me. He's got kinetic absorption and dispersal. So, like, his skin is kind of like Black Panther's suit in the Marvel movies, where, the more impact I take from blunt force stuff like bullets or being punched or bouncing off of a wall, the more like energy and strength I gain, and then I can disperse that out into an enemy. And he's also fairly quick. I want to say he's just a little bit slower than Quicksilver, and he kind of, the way I play him is he bounces off the walls like a pinball and builds up some kinetic energy to punch the bad guys. Um, he's really fun. He's kind of a monotone hero, if you will. Like I talk more in this tone when I'm doing Thunderstruck than I do with my normal voice, because my normal voice isn't necessarily that deep. And I don't know if you've announced the other project you're doing yet. I don't want to spoil everything.
Yeah. The one where Thunderstruck's the bad guy. Yeah, that's already out. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I don't know if you noticed, but I was trying to go with a little bit of Mark Hamill's Joker voice,
Yeah.
while also maintaining a little bit of that deepness. Um, I don't know. He's just been a really fun character for me, and doing the lines for you, especially with everything that I was dealing with within the last 2 years. That me and you have personally and privately talked about. Like, it's been really cool to do that because it's been a really nice distraction for me.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I really enjoy doing the voice acting, especially with some of the drama that you've given me, especially while introducing like aspects of and influences from me actually being a dad in real life. And there was one scene I believe where I was actually able to draw on some real painful moments as a dad, especially being a single dad, that I was able to add into that moment, um, where I kind of get a little emotional in my voice, and I put that into the character. I hope you noticed that.
Yeah, you're definitely one of my favorite people to work with, and like this is one of the things that, like, a lot of people, I get so much flack on TikTok for like being on YouTube and all this stuff, and this is one of the reasons why I do it, because you are one of a few people that have made a character or want to do something specific with their voice acting or something. I'm like, all right, let's do this, and I've managed to like help you get like do that. So the stories he's talking about is Mutants for Hire, which is the beginning of my Marvel DC combined universe. And the concept is they're not heroes, they're not villains. You give them money, they'll do it. But their moral standards get in the way a lot of the time. And we have Mark the Cornish Ranger as Sabretooth, we've got Cosplay District 7 as Gambit, his wife is Rita, his son is Pyro. And Austin's Thunderstruck is one of the Mutants for Hire boys. And I've just loved writing him as a character. Like you said, he can bounce off the walls and he can absorb kinetic energy. So like I've literally had scenes where one of like my character Oclos has literally grabbed Thunderstruck, pulled him in front of him, used him as a body shield, and then booted Thunderstruck towards the bad guys, and then Thunderstruck's released all the kinetic energy that he just absorbed from all the gunfire and shit and expelled it and beat the bad guys with it and shit like this. You know, like, I've come up with some funny things, some really cool fight scenes, and then yeah, the emotional stuff. You know, I like when someone becomes my voice actor, I really like to get to know them, not on a major personal level, just I need to know something. I need to know what I'm working with, and like, you know, this is why a lot of the times I'm getting people who like Power Rangers and Marvel and DC, because it's really easy to make OCs in these worlds, and you know, it's really fun to do that too. And you know, my brother, who is 19, almost 20, you know, he's been through a lot of rough stuff the last couple of years, and he was on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and I said to him that, dude, maybe you should become one of my voice actors, and his face just lit up, and he was like, I've never really thought about it, to be honest, because he's really good at impressions. He's really good at like Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Terminator. He's really good at the Joker and things like this. I was like, dude, you should become one of my voice actors. And I went to go see him at the end of August. Within 1 hour, between me and him, we had made 4 OCs in 4 different storylines that he's now going to voice in. I like getting to know my voice actors. So when you mentioned, you know, some, like, I'm not going to mention anything personal, but like, you know, you mentioned some hard stuff, you mentioned some good stuff, and I was like, dude, I can work with this. I can so work with this. You know, and yeah, Thunderstruck has a kid now, which works really well because the mum of the kid is my Red Lantern, who is Jordan. Jordan's a fantastic actress. She's really cool. She's badass. And like, she wanted to play an angry character. She wanted, like you, she wanted a way to expel this emotion. I was like, hey, be a Red Lantern. And she was like, yes, do it. So like, between you two, I've managed to help you both out a little bit. And like, I've named Thunderstruck's son after your son. He's actually been voiced by my son. Logan's actually voiced Thunderstruck's kid once, which was really cool as well. So it's just been like an overall experience. It's been really, really cool. And something's gonna happen later down near the end of this year with Thunderstruck, Close, and Benevolent Cardio. And One Up, something's going to happen with the Mutant for Hire boys, and I'll tell you what it is later, but you're going to need to really pull up on anger, wanting revenge, betrayal, brotherhood sort of emotions. I cannot wait to see what you do with it. I'm so looking forward to it.
I definitely noticed how my voice acting with this series alone has grown over the last year or so.
Yeah.
From episode 1 to this most recent stuff, because like I go back every once in a while, just to make sure that my voice is sounding similar to, you know, what I need it to be, because, you know, everyone's like you said, your brother does impressions. I do something similar. Like, I really love to do my Scooby-Doo one. My kid loved my Scooby-Doo one when he was younger. He really enjoyed, you know, me doing like Mickey Mouse and stuff like that. But like, I wanted Thunderstruck to be my own. I wanted him to sound similar to me, but I also wanted him to have that kind of hero tone, which is why I went a little deep voiced with it. But I can see, like, I'm definitely grown with the character in the aspect of like, I'm able to put the emotion behind the voice. I'm not just talking like this the entire time. And like, I feel like I'm getting better with it. And if I do ever, and I'm sure you've picked up on it, if I do ever feel like there's a couple different ways I could say a line for you, I send extras just in case.
Yeah.
You know, you want to pick, like, ooh, I like this response sound better than I like this response sound.
Yeah, there's a few actors that do that, to be fair. Some of them are like you, where like you'll do a line a couple times, and then I have some people who do all their lines, and then they'll tell me in the same voice file, right, I'm gonna do them again a little more serious or a little more joking, and they'll redo the whole lines again in a different tone. Yeah, a few of you do it, to be fair. I respect it too, because it lets me to, like you said, I get to pick and choose, I get to play around with it, and you know, I can pick which one I feel would suit the atmosphere of the story better.
And I haven't told you this yet, and this will be a fun little announcement piece, not only for yourself, but for the podcast. But I have actually kept some of my lines where I've goofed and said something wrong, or I get tongue tied and I'm just like, blah, 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 like just, little goofy splurges like that. So like, if you did ever want to do like a blooper reel, there's a possibility. I don't know if anybody else does that, but that's me. Because I like the blooper reel from Supernatural, and I feel like if there is the fandom to this, we do mess up. I know I do. Like, I've maybe like a 3-word sentence, like, where is she? There might be times that I accidentally say he or they, or
Yeah. Well, funny thing you mentioned that, right? So I need to change my outro a little bit, but at the end of every single Tiger Tales video now, no matter what channel it's on, because I got a couple of Tiger Tales video channels now. There is Jared from If You Give That a Podcast. He's one of my voice actors, and me and him have a series together, and he narrates it. And there's a bit where he's talking, he goes, and then blah 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 blah. So I've kept that bit at the end, and then Billy from Zero to Hero, he also voiced a character, and he when he records, he talks to Jim. So I can't hear Jim; I can only hear him talking to Jim. I don't have Jim's audio; I just have Billy's. It's really random. So he's doing lines for me with Jim's help, and then all of a sudden he just goes, "Don't touch my Pringles." So at the end of every single Tiger Tales video, I literally have me talking about, go subscribe, blah, blah, and then it ends with, "Don't touch my Pringles," by Billy and Jared, and it's fucking hilarious.
I love that. Absolutely.
And I'm trying to find one from Mark, because Mark fucks up so much. I love him, but Jesus Christ, I'll send him 8 lines. I'll have a 4-minute audio file with all his fuck ups, and I'm trying to find the perfect one to add to it. So yeah, if you ever want to send me the bloopers, crack on. I'll add it to the end of Tiger Tales.
I definitely have also been meaning to talk to you about possibly doing other voices if needed. I know that the Discord channel has that.
I'm going to stop you there because as soon as we're done recording this podcast, I already have a couple things to talk to you about.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm already there, bro. I'm already there.
I was going to say, just because, like, I know I can do more than just, because I think I'm doing two already for you.
Yep.
With it being Thunderstruck and then the evil version of Thunderstruck at the current moment. And then I did a couple for Cosplay Dude. I did Ulrich from Code Lyoko. I tried to do like a little bit of an older, still a teenagey voice, but just a little bit older voice for him. And then he had me do Klein from Sword Art Online. I don't know if he ever sent you that video file, but it was like oh man. I think we mentioned Tiger Tales, and I'm like something about.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. It's okay. I use it as a promo. You guys are talking about the fact that Storytime of Cosplay Dude 637 has moved to Tiger Tales because a little while ago, a couple months ago now, because me and Willie are like best of friends. Like literally, we talk like about stories all the time. And he comes to me and he says that he's tempted to just stop Storytime, the podcast where he uploaded his own stories. I was like, well, why do you want to stop it for? And he's like, well, I don't want people going to it. There's nothing new there, blah, blah, blah. So I said to him, I was like, dude, just upload it to Tiger Tales. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, let me cut out your intro and outro. Let me make a new intro and outro to the videos, and I'll just re-upload them. And then if you ever want to continue your stories, they're there. And so now that's increased. He had about 4 stories. Now he's got about 6 or 7. So yeah, including Sword Art Online, and he's actually got 2 Sword Art Online storylines actually on Tiger Tales now. And now he's got story on Tiger Tales Lost Stories, and a story on Tiger Tales Game Over. 2 storylines on Tiger Tales Game Over. So Cosplay Dude literally has infected Tiger Tales big time.
I definitely will say this. There's one word that I say within that whole like promo, and it's the word awesome. I go, that's awesome. And I'm just like, I don't like how I went awesome.
You said it like an O instead of an A.
Yeah. And, like I was re-listening to it today because like I was trying to prep myself in case you wanted me to touch on any of the voices and stuff, and I was like, man, I really didn't like how I said awesome. I mean, everything sounds absolutely amazing, as close as I could get it to Klein. And then I didn't know, if he had told you that I was doing Ulrich from Code Lyoko, or that I had done something with Ulrich from Code Lyoko.
Yeah, you did tell me.
I need to get in contact. Like, me and him snap each other daily, but I need to get in contact with him and see if there's anything coming up for him story wise. And I know, like, in our Discord that you post about lines and stuff like that, and I'm really bad about checking that unless you kind of send me my little reminders like, hey, lines are up, and I'm like, awesome, and I go and look, and I start practicing them, and I'm very OCD about what I'm going to send to you before I send it, if that makes sense. Which is why,
dude, honestly, I respect it. You're one of the easiest people to work with. When it comes to lines, yeah, okay, I have to remind you a couple times, but you're a dad, and I've got a 5-year-old. I completely understand. I completely get it. I don't care about reminding people. As long as it's not over the dramatic, over the top, like some people have been in the past, it's cool. And like you send me lines, but you also separate them, so each line's a different file, which is great. I love that. That's really helpful. And things like you're easy to work with. You don't have to worry about it, bro.
yeah, I like I said, I send extra stuff just in case you want like a different sound to it, or if I feel like there could be a couple different ways that you might want it to sound. And if you do ever want me to redo something, by all means, I have no problem whipping out another line. I save every, and what's even crazier is I do this all on my iPhone.
Yeah, honestly, there's quite a few people that whether it's like recording for the podcast, whether it's like recording lines, like I know Mark does his lines on the phone. Yeah, you'd be quite surprised how many people actually use their phone to do lines for me.
Yeah, and like I've done some of my lines driving. if I'm being honest, I'm like, you know what? I've got a good 45 minutes to an hour before I'm getting to where I'm going. It's quiet inside my vehicle. I can, like I don't need the air on right now. Let's whip these out and see how they sound. I think the first set of Evil Thunderstruck lines that I sent you, I was driving. And
yes. So the reason why Evil Thunderstruck even existed is because I knew you wanted to like play around with voice acting and stuff. Because so Cosplay Dude has a YouTube channel called Marvel Universe 19, and I have an Avengers storyline on there. My Avengers are the second graded heroes. We've got like Sam Wilson as Captain America, Jane Foster's Thor, Ironheart, Miles Morales Spider-Man, and stuff like that. And I wanted to play. I am a sucker for the multiverse. I love the multiverse. It's such a cool concept. And I want to make another Oculus, which is my Mutants for Hire character now. Oculus in Mutants for Hire has the ability that his eyes turn red, blue, and yellow. He can do different things. So if they're red, he becomes super strong. If they're blue, he becomes super fast. And if they're yellow, he becomes ghostly, like translucent. And with Marvel Universe 19, I was like, well, this is a different universe. I can make Oculus a hero and give him new powers. So this time around, he's got purple, green, and orange. Orange turns him into a tiger. My name, obviously. Green allows him to fly, and purple's just been introduced. And purple allows him to make weapons out of light, like kind of like a Green Lantern. And
okay.
So I've introduced Oklos, and both in Mutants for Hire, Oklos is friends with Gambit. Kinda. Well, in this new one where he's an Avenger, he's best friends with Gambit. Gambit kind of like trained him how to use his powers, and I've played with the multiverse so well. Like Mutants for Hire, Arklos knows how to use his powers. He's a cocky son of a bitch. You know, he doesn't care about getting in trouble. Blah blah blah. This new version of Arklos has no idea how to use his powers. The last chapter that just came out, he just learned how to fly properly, only because it was if he didn't fly, then someone was going to die, so he had to fly. He had no choice, sort of scenario, and stuff like this. And so then I was trying to think of a bad guy, and I'm doing something cool with some of the villains. I was like, no, I want an OC. I want an OC villain. And then I was thinking, well, hang on a minute. I've already got Oklos in this universe. What if I play with the Mutant for Hire boys? What if I do something? I was like, hang on. I wonder what Austin would say if I turned Thunderstruck into a bad guy. And so in this universe, Oklos and Thunderstruck grew up together because they both went through the foster system. And Oklos ended up being a part of the Avengers. You know, he's a superhero now, blah, blah, blah. Where Thunderstruck never had that treatment. He never had a Gambit to look after him and help train him or anything. So Thunderstruck kind of has this, like, well, fuck you sort of attitude towards Oklos. Like, where am I? You know, how come I didn't get that sort of attitude? So, like, I'm playing
like almost like a resentment and a jealousy.
Yeah. So, like, so, like, the first fight scene. Luckily, in the first fight scene, the other heroes turn up just at the last second. So Thunderstruck had to leave. He actually ran off. But eventually there'll be scenes where Thunderstruck and Oklos had to fight again, and like you'll learn a bit more about like them being in the foster system. They were in foster housing together, etc., etc. When Gambit came into the picture, Thunderstruck was pushed to one side, and Oklos kind of forgot about him. And now Oklos is on the news, and you know he's got himself a girlfriend now, and all sorts of stuff. And Thunderstruck is still sat in the corner, so like he resents Oklos's existence.
I feel like there should be like an incident, maybe like if you wanted to tell like a background wise why the voice is kind of different instead of just he's evil and I needed a way to distinguish between the two of them when I'm sending lines, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like maybe he had like, you know, got hit in the neck by a baseball bat or something when they were kids.
Well, technically speaking, I can make it Oklos's fault because I can have it like they got in a scrap and Oklos just like, you know, they were fighting and Oklos accidentally like elbowed him in the throat or something. You know, I can make it Oklos's fault. Like we can work on that for sure.
Also, what I was gonna say is I don't know if you remember me mentioning earlier that Thunderstruck originally came from a tabletop game.
Yeah.
Where it's basically Marvel's D&D. And all of my friends that sit at this table have actually made OC characters for this. Everybody's an original character. And if you ever need ideas for more characters, I'm more than willing to ask other my tabletop group if they're willing to have their characters be their stories.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Because man, so I'm sure he wouldn't mind if I told you this one, but his character's really cool. Imagine Rogue, but he's a teenage boy. He doesn't steal powers. It's a life drain touch. And he has control over dark matter.
Ooh, sounds fancy.
He's very emo.
Sounds cool.
I can't remember if he's a mute or not, but he's one of the guys in my group learned ASL, which is American Sign Language, and he's been very excited to use that at the table, but nobody at the table knows ASL. So he sits there and tries to sign to us, and we're like, dude, you're gonna have to speak because we don't know. But yeah, he comes up with all sorts of characters and he writes stories for them. Like within like his own little group chats and stuff for like online role play, and I'd have to definitely talk to him before getting a sign off on these characters.
I
But
mean, I'd be happy to talk to him and we can come up with something.
yeah, I'm sure he would have no problem. I don't know if he would be into trying to do the voice acting, but if he's willing to let me voice these characters and like, yeah, I'd be down for that too.
So the reason why I say I'm cool with that is because over the course of Mutants for Hire and then the big crossover that we did, I've introduced two girls that have abilities, and they're both voiced by Jordan. So eventually, like I said, something big's gonna happen where Thunderstruck's gonna need some like taking some revenge, and some people come to help, and they're gonna be OCs, and it's actually a couple of the voice actors in the Discord chat that gave me OCs like a year ago, and I've been waiting all this time to put them in. But eventually, Mutants for Hire won't just be 4 members. Eventually, down the road, these people that help them out, they go, "Yeah, come join us." And Mutants for Hire actually becomes like a bit of a squad, more than just a 4-man group. It becomes a bit of a team.
Okay.
And so, like, yeah, I'm definitely looking for more. And they have to be OCs. That's the only rule. Like, I'm not gonna have like Gambit join them or anything.
So every once in a while, if we get tired of playing like the original game and we decide to make a joke campaign where we have completely useless superheroes that are useful in their own way, but each character has to be funny. So this next group, my character, I haven't named him yet, but you know the character Forget Me Not?
Yes.
So he has Forget Me Not's powers, but the only way they work is if he's naked. And he is not a cute man to look at. And his favorite thing to do is to run up and like either booty bump you in the face or hit you with another bodily appendage.
Oh my god, that's actually tickled me. That was great.
So imagine if we were X-Men, and because he's a mutant, and we're fighting Apocalypse, and I just run up and hit Apocalypse in the face with the front of myself, and he blinks from the hit because it's rather large, and he forgets what happened to him.
That's fantastic. That's great. I love that so much. That's brilliant.
We have a blind speedster.
Oh, that's great. That's actually maybe like I'm actually teary over here. That's actually pretty funny.
So like that, if they're willing to let their characters be told in a story, even if you wanted to use a joke character or even throw him in there as just like, as a little like haha to that, like that'd be cool sometime too.
Well, okay, so the way that I'd want to go about that, me being the story writer, is I'd love to talk to these people. So like whether it's like a group chat that like I'm put with these people, or if anybody's willing, they come talk to me or something. I can work with them, kind of like how me and you work together about Thunderstruck. If they want to voice the character, awesome. If not, that's fine too. I can just narrate them in, or I can find voice actors for them. Benevolent Cardio, one of the Mutants for Hire characters. He's not voiced by his creator. Someone else actually voices him. So not every OC has their original, creators voicing them. So like I'm fine with that. But yeah, I'd happily talk to your D&D group and we can come up with some cool stuff.
Okay. I'll make mention to him before or after we get done chatting.
Yeah, cool.
It's like what, 1 a.m. there for you now?
Yeah, just gone 1, yeah.
Okay. I didn't know how much longer you were wanting to.
Oh, I was about to wrap it up anyway because we've been talking for a while now.
Yeah, about 2 hours, I want to say.
Yeah, it's literally about 3 minutes shy of 2 hours.
Sweet.
So yeah, if anybody wanted to find you, how would people, social platforms, where do you post stuff? Where can people find you?
Honestly, I've been kind of lacking this last year on my social media. I need to be a little bit more active on it, but just search up my name. Or if you want to, you can put my name up there, but mainly TikTok. Um, Obviously, like my Facebook is more for like family and friends and people like
Yeah,
I've met in person, and that's got probably the most like personable stuff on it versus like my Instagram or um, TikTok. So like you have me on TikTok. I believe you have me on Instagram. I know for a fact Red Cornish Ranger has me on Instagram in his follow list. So it's just my name, Austin McMillan. I'm not super complicated by any means, and I just didn't have any really great ideas for a username, I guess, at the moment, aside from just like, hey, it's me. But
yeah, that's fair. My TikTok's just Ty Tiger because that's my name.
I mean, if I did ever decide to do a social media thing for the voice acting alone, just so people, if they wanted to reach out and like thank me or like, ask me questions about it, whatever, I could see myself making like an Instagram for Thunderstruck.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
Like give people the chance to make like concept ideas on what they think he looks like, or you know, I think that would be fun.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, I think like when it comes to Tiger Tales and like all the stories and stuff, I think if I got to a point where I had a bit of a community going on in the Discord and, I had, people like coming out of artwork and I had an editor maybe and stuff, I think that's kind of like the goal, is get to a point where I'm not doing, writing's all me, the writing is all me, but like I'm not doing all of the work. That would be kind of cool.
Right.
Well, this has been an absolute blast. Thank you so much for coming on and just geeking out with me for 2 hours. That's been absolutely awesome. Well, like we discussed earlier, you've been around for just about 2 years now, dealing with Tiger Tales and all the shenanigans that come with it. If you want to hear Thunderstruck, then you go check out Mutants for Hire. The Invasion of the Putties crossover, and then the brand new version of Thunderstruck is in a story called Avengers: Earth's Last Alliance on Tiger Tales and Marvel's Universe 19. Austin does a fantastic job. He's such a good voice actor, and like I said, very easy to work with. But yeah, thank you, bro. Honestly, for coming on, it's been a blast. And yeah, it was just nice to chill out with you for a couple hours and geek out about Power Rangers and voice acting and things.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And like I said before we started recording, this is my first ever experience with being on a podcast. So I'm glad that it was a comfortable one with somebody that I know, and that it went as smooth as it did. I more or less felt like I was having a conversation with a friend over the phone.
That's literally what I try to make it. I try to make this so comfortable as possible. I've had some experiences of like trying to get people on, and everyone's like, "Why are you using Discord for?" And I'm like, "Because it's free." And then people are like, "Yeah, but what type of interview?" And I'm like, "The easy one."
Right,
I can't make it more like easier than that. Like I just want a conversation and to put it on the internet. That's literally what I'm doing.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm assuming this will be on your Tiger Tales channel.
No, this will be on the Tiger Nexus podcast. It actually has its own YouTube account and its own podcast platform. So it goes
Okay.
on Spotify and it goes on Amazon and Google, and I'll send you a link once it's out. But
Sweet.
yeah, I've had Mark the Red Cornish Ranger on, Cosplay Dude, both the Zero Hero boys. Beauty Baba Yaga's been on, if you know who she is. She's a big Power Ranger person on TikTok. She's really cool.
Yeah, I think it would be cool if you could get if we could do this again sometime with more of the guys, if possible. If not, that's fine too.
I would love, and this is the annoying thing about having friends in America and the UK, I'd love to do a podcast episode with like more than just, I've had two people on before. I've had a YouTuber who I've been following for years. I've watched him grow from 0 subscribers all the way to, I think he's almost at 1,000, and his editor. And then I've had a couple on. They were last week's episode. So I've had two people on before, but I'd love to have like 2, maybe 3 people on, including myself, so there's like 4 of us, and we just geek out about Power Rangers, or we geek out about, you know, being a voice actor, or, you know, we talk about something. It's just time scaling, you know, we've got dads, parents, we've got work, we've got jobs, you know, everything gets in the way, and it's extremely hard to get to that point where, you know, we have that ability to do so. But that would be really cool at some point, just have like 2 to 3 people on at once. That'd
I
be
feel
awesome.
like me, you, Mark, and Will could all work something out and talk.
Yeah,
I would love to hear them talk about figuring out, like, oh, we know the same guy. We're talking about the same guy.
yeah, that I still can't believe that happened. That was so funny. That was absolutely nuts. But yeah, like that is definitely a dream of mine. Jared has If You Give a Dad a Podcast, and I'm not gonna spoil anything, but he's named a few big names that he's having on his podcast, and that's another dream of mine, is to have like big time like celebrities on and stuff. And I'm just like, I've just got to episode 30. I've almost reached 500 listens. I'm like 18 away from 500 listens, so I'm getting there slowly.
Hey, I mean, as long as you keep going with the grind, you'll get there when you get there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, thank you for coming on. Thank you everyone for listening. Don't forget to follow us on Spotify and wherever else this podcast is put on. I don't actually know. Red Circle does it all for me. And if you're on YouTube, subscribe, because that'd be great too. And yeah, don't forget to roar with passion, everybody. We love you all, and we shall see you in the next one.
This podcast is a production of the Three Ranger Bros Studios, in association with Zio to Hero, the podcast.